Hello, everybody. You know what it is? Wednesday. You know, I thought yesterday was Wednesday. These holidays mess me up. You know, not to any extent that the world's going to end, but still, I'm like, you say something to somebody and you're like, that's not today. And you're like, yeah, right. I know. So as you see today, we're going to have a rock and bass chat with Lynch Mob bassist Jaron Gulino, and he'll be here shortly. He let me know he had some things going on, so that is how that will be. He'll be here shortly, though. So just stay tuned. In the meantime, I had something else in mind as well today, because it was great when I was talking with Jaron earlier today, and he said he'd be able to make it on the show. So hello. Hope everybody had a great holiday weekend. I did. And actually got to celebrate yesterday, 36th wedding anniversary. How about that? So it was kind of wild, because that means it was 1988. One of my favorite stories with a coworker was walking down the hall with one of our new staff. And I was just making small talk with her. I said, "So have you always lived in St. Louis?" She said, "Yeah." "How about you?" I said, "No, I moved here when I got married in 88. And she said, "Oh, I was born in 88. And I was like, "That's adorable. Let's just keep walking." So anyway, but it was kind of interesting, because in 88, some other things happened with us. And I'll talk about those here in just a second. You can see I'm wearing a new shirt. I need to get this started first, because I really need this today. Although I had some alcohol yesterday, and it's one of those tequilas that just don't jive with me. There's some like that. It happens to us, right? This brand just doesn't work for you. What is up, Drew? How are you? Oh, it's going great. It is going really well. Wasn't going so great last night, though. All I had was just had one margarita. It wasn't a huge margarita either. It was just, we went out to Rock and Brews to celebrate, and thank you very much. And it was a great time. We went out there, and all right, let's get back to it here after I pour this. Here we go. Let's do this. Let us do this. A nice Yingling in the Viking horn. I had to clean out my Viking horn. There was something in there I didn't like. But anyway, in 1988, we saw our first Judas Priest show together. We were dating, and we had seen Iron Maiden while we were dating. And then soon into our marriage, we saw Def Leppard together in the round for the Hysteria album. That was really cool. And then because I was working my first job down here when that happened. And then we saw on the Ram It Down tour, we saw Judas Priest, and Cinderella was opening, and it was great. It was a great show. And the weird thing is that when we got there to the restaurant last night, what video was on? Don't know what you got till it's gone. I was like, this is so weird. Here I'm wearing this shirt, which we just saw this gig, right? And so then the shirt showed up yesterday, as a matter of fact. However, the other shirt that I ordered just isn't the right size at all. So I got to figure that out. You can only have one drink myself. Tequila used to be my go-to. Yeah, I can't only have one drink. I decided to do so, and thank God I did, because whatever tequila that was that they had last night did not. I had a headache, and it could have been partially my fault. I haven't been drinking enough water lately, so dehydration hasn't helped me much. And here I sit drinking a beer, right? That's really good. Really good. I still enjoyed when we got out to the car to leave the restaurant after having a great meal at Rock and Brews. I had the half chicken, the barbecue half chicken. So good. Really good. And then we decided on a dessert. We thought one of the good places, a custard place, decided against that. We went to a bakery instead. Because I was like, let's just get something that's going to cost about the same, that we can have something for a few days, right? Have a little bit for a few days instead of this whole big, massive something for which you pay a lot of money. So I'm all about that. Quantity, I like. And this was quality, actually, too. What we got from the bakery was quality. So it wasn't like we were sacrificing one for the other. No, 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 no. Just for that amount of money, we got good quantity. And it was so good. So good. They had these little cherry pies. I had to get one of those. You guys don't care about food, do you? No, you were good, I think. So here's a picture I have to show you. This is something that I was going to talk about today. And then I got to talking with Jaron, and hopefully this photo is in here. Where is it? Here it is. All right, look at this. Don't concentrate so much on the Thor, even though that is so cool. And that is a dog dish, ceramic dog dish with Marvel stuff on it. I had to buy it. I loved it. And it works so well in his hands to put snacks and treats and stuff in there. So yes, I probably should put dog treats in there. Maybe that's what I should do. But I haven't yet. But anyway, the boxes, let's pay attention to those, shall we? The boxes are full of CDs. This was I would say kind of a contribution. I told him, this is my buddy who was getting rid of his CDs and stuff. And he sold a whole bunch of them, I guess, already. But he had these left over. And I said, dude, I'll take a look at those. And he goes, just, yeah, whatever you want. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, why don't I just take the lot and I'll look through them. So, and then maybe I'll buy some different stuff. I'll buy some pizza and stuff, and we'll play video games. How about that? That's kind of how I'll pay him for it. So just had to check and see if I got a note from Jaron at all. So I'll keep an eye on that. So anyway, yeah, he handed me these. So what I was going to do was I was going to ask the question today, had Jaron not been able to be with me here today. I was going to talk about physical versus digital. Do we have folks out there that are purely digital? You don't want to do physical at all, kind of in this situation. If you've had all these CDs for years and then you're just like, they're just taking up space and I've downloaded them all, so I have it all digitally. Maybe that's the way you go. And then you get rid of the physical. Or are there those out there that like to have that physical just in case something, because of the digital, especially for CDs, they're already digital, and then now you're digitizing the digital. So how do you feel about that? I know what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to those people who feel kind of the same way some people feel about books, right? I mean, there's some people that don't mind looking at a lighted screen and scrolling through the pages easily. Boop, you just hit the boop, and then it goes to the next page. There are some people that don't mind that. They just want the content. So it's really going to come down to, it's always going to be a split thing. It's never going to be, well, right or wrong. It's never going to be that. It's always going to come down to preference. And if you like to have a book in your hand and read that book like I do, then you'll do that. Now, you may read the book and then you may want to sell it or give it away. A lot of people have these mini libraries out in their front yard, right? Or you can donate them to whatever, to a shelter. You can donate them to any of the charity resale places if you want. You got a lot of CDs to look through. I really do. And we're going to do that together. I'm not going to just do that and then go, okay, so this is what nope. Guys, we're going to go through this stuff together. May do it tonight after Go Game Go. I may do that. Just get the camera out and point it down and go for it. So you're a hybrid. All right, Drew. I love that. That's a great way to start with the guests. I'm a hybrid. It is so hard to get rid of my CDs. I get you, man. Spent years collecting them. Now, what about this too? What if you've got some that are autographed? I've got a bunch that are autographed. When you're looking at my records, I've got a section that you can't see that are autographed. I'll be going through those. I know I said I'm going to be doing that, and I will be doing that. I love my digital files too. I have a lot of stuff the internet won't allow anymore. Thank you. Let's talk about Foreigner. Can we? Shall we? Won't we? We will. Let's talk about Foreigner real quick. Let me check this because I think Jaron may be getting a hold of me here. Hang tight. Okay, good. Good. He'll be with us shortly. He's just wrapping up some stuff. All right. So let's. So let's talk about Foreigner. Foreigner, the first album. If you go on, I bitched about this not too long ago. But the thing of it is if you go on to say Spotify. Now I haven't checked it on Apple Music, and I haven't looked on YouTube to know what's available out there. But if you go and if you select the first album and listen to it front to back, when you get to Feels Like the First Time, which I think is the first song on the record, it's the short version. It's the single version. I don't get that. They play that live. They play the single version live now, which I may have bitched about this before again, earlier on another show. The thing that bothers me, I don't like it either because what are you doing to your legacy? What are you saying to all of us who were there when that song came out? And we bought the record, and that's what we want to hear. Or we listen to album-oriented rock radio stations. Even Casey, these kind of stations. Hey, Casey, how you doing, buddy? Even these stations like that are supposed to be classic rock stations play these single versions, which to me, if you don't mind me saying so, and it's not because I'm drinking, it's because I really feel this way. I think that's pretty close to blasphemy as far as, and you can go all day long telling me about, well, it's just a money thing. Wow, really? You're a classic rock station and it's about the money? I mean, you built your career, it's about the music and the artists. Now, I get it. If that's the way they want it, don't play our album version anymore. Well, okay, but really on Spotify, you can't even hear the album version anymore? You're going to get this cut up, and I think it's cut in two places. We'll check it. We'll do a little comparison video real soon, and to me it's disgusting. It'd be like listening to Bachman Turner Overdrive. Let's just take that one for instance. If I'm listening to BTO2, right, and I hear Taking Care of Business, and all of a sudden it's cut in a couple of spots, I'm like, are you serious with me right now? What is going on? Classic means you keep it as it was. Very good, Drew. See? Now, I'm going to step down. You be the teacher, Drew, because that's true. I love that. Didn't even think about it that way. That didn't even come to mind. Hate the short version of Twilight Zone by Golden Earring. Took all the great guitar away. Thank you. Absolutely, Ron. Thanks for being here, brother. It's just it's sad, I think. There are certain things that again, it doesn't bother me. Have the single version on the record, but also leave the regular long album version on there, and it's, see, there you go. We got agreements happening already here. I just love it because that's what it's about. Now, when it comes to the physical, getting back to the physical, I've got a lot of vinyl, obviously, and from the show here that I continue to pick some up. And one of my favorites, now you see this right here. This is something that I just got. I ordered it recently and I was going to open it up with you guys. But see this? This was a beautiful find recently. This Firepower album. I love this album. And to have it on vinyl for the price that I got was really good. It was a really good price. And it came wrapped still. It was still sealed. I didn't know it was going to be sealed. And there it is. But now, let me take another drink. I will say, Yingling treats me better than that tequila did last night. So this is what is called a 12-inch acrylic turntable slip mat. I didn't know these existed. I just saw it the other day on Amazon, and I thought, they say that it says, please replace your record's original turntable mat with this acrylic turntable slip mat and place your records on it, then enjoy it. Now, what they're telling me in the reviews, well, this says here, 12-inch acrylic turntable slip mat. All right, let's just read this. Sleek and modern look. We'll take a look at it and see if that's true. No more scratchy white noise. What does that mean? No more scratchy white noise? Tighter bass response. That's the big thing right now. That's one of the reasons that I picked it up, and we'll check it out ourselves and find out. Epic gift for audiophiles. I guess that's me. And I gifted myself. So we carefully select materials and design a simple, beautiful, and functional appearance. Sincerely hope you will enjoy using them. They have different colors out there. Of course, I got the blue. So let's take a look at it here. We'll open this up. All right. I think I got the blue. Yeah. Now, I don't know that we'll see it all right now. You can see the middle part because I'm not ready to put this on there just yet. So see, it comes with a sticker on the outside, but there's the blue. And then what happens is sometimes on these newer turntables and such, even on some of the older ones, you guys remember some of the more classic ones, on the outside, it had kind of the speed light on the side, which acted as like kind of a strobe to make sure that you were going the right speed. So sometimes when on some of these newer turntables or on those older ones with that, the light will shine into this and it'll kind of glow that color underneath your vinyl, which I think that's kind of cool. So I'm looking forward to unwrapping this. We'll do that together. Maybe what we'll do is when I do this CD walkthrough, whether I do that later on tonight or whenever I do that, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. But we'll unwrap this and we'll put it on, and we'll put something on while we do the CD walkthrough. How's that? Let me see here. We got all right, good. Looks like he's got about 15 minutes away from being done. Just came in. Yeah. Okay. So kind of his original schedule is what we'll be on, which works perfectly. So the physical deal. So that's kind of fun. These things are still fun to get. And this album cover on this Firepower is embossed. I really love it. So it's embossed. What else did I just get recently that's embossed? What else was it? Seemed like I got something else. Oh, shoot. Wow. I can't remember. I showed it to you guys the other day. What turntables do you recommend using? Well, therein lies another interesting point. I think I mentioned it before, but we're talking physical. So let's either reiterate it or we'll say it for the first time on the show. The funny thing is we buy a lot of these new albums, right? And they're supposed to be whatever their bits are, or, whatever. And they stretch them out so that you get a better sound for your buck, which I would suppose that's going to be good if you're recording it straight away. So that, like back in the 80s, this I have mentioned before, where like Hysteria came out, and it's over an hour long, I do believe. were the grooves, by the time that they were pushing too much onto the vinyl. So instead of 33 to 36, maybe 37 minutes, now you've got not quite twice that amount, but pretty damn close. You start getting to the inside of those, where a song on the outside is more like this wide and on the inside it's more like this wide. Now these grooves are so much closer together. We didn't even think about it. We just thought, oh yeah, cool, I'll get Hysteria on vinyl, which I didn't do. It was 1987 and the DVDs, CDs were flowing, and so that was that. So I went ahead and got it on CD. I think I got it as a gift, and even at the time, it wasn't my favorite Def Leppard record. I was like, "What are you doing? What is this?" I appreciate it. I appreciated it already. I mean, I got it as a gift, so that kind of helped. Instead of me going, "Do I want to spend my money on this?" But when those albums were coming out, those grooves were, and it started to distort because it was catching the edge of the cartridge. So that stylus was, and it's kind of like the cicadas right now, in sections of trees on either side of you, and it starts to reverberate, and it's not good. Which again, never thought of that back in the day. I mean, I heard that bit of fact later on, and I was like, wow, that really makes sense. So yeah, but it is great getting these. I wish I could remember what the other one was that I just got the other day that was embossed. That's really sad that I don't remember. But I'm looking forward to this piece. I'm wondering also today, speaking of physical, here's where I'm talking about it. The Symphony X, I was talking about that the other day with seeing them in concert and how strange it was. I was like, well, I'll buy the vinyl because it was $36, but then the shipping on top of it took it up to almost $50. Went to the show, thought, ooh, they've got the vinyl. I'll not get that because it was $50. That's my decisions, and I don't blame these guys. I don't know how much it costs to make these vinyl, and I told Mike that I need to check into that and start doing some things. But it was going to be cheaper for me to come back home and go ahead and order it and save a couple of bucks, at least a couple of bucks and some change to get the vinyl. But again, it goes back to, you can look at a CD of this, which is Tooth and Nail by Dokken. And yeah, it's this big, right? Or you have this beautiful display of an album art. Today I pulled these out because we're talking with Jaron, who's working with George Lynch right now, and Lynch Mob played on this new album, Babylon, and many other bands. So it'll be interesting to talk about these other bands that they did have. I went on to Discogs today and checked him out. There's a band called Midnight Hellion that he wrote a song. He was a co-writer of a song on that record. So it is kind of neat going to Discogs. If you've never gone there, check it out and see, because too much wobble. Yes. And check out, you can find some of your favorite records, and then you can check out different ratings on those vinyl, and you can purchase them through Discogs as well. So it's kind of neat. A lot of these, I'm sure, are like record stores, record collectors that do things online, so that's the way that is. But yeah, Tooth and Nail, one of my very favorite Dokken records. Was able to get that autographed when I saw them here in town, as well as this. I love this. This live album was great, and got it autographed as well. There's George Lynch in silver right down there. This was, they were on Elektra Records. I got to knowing the gentleman here in town. Now these two, the first album, yes, an Under Lock and Key. were not autographed. I don't have those autographed yet, so might have to look into those once Lynch Mob's here in town. So check out some of the dates. I guess what I could do is tell you about some of the dates that are coming up. If you're in any of those areas, and they're going to be this whole thing kicks off June 6th. So that's when they're doing this tour, and it's called The Final Ride, 2024 to 2025. Now, there's I was surprised today when I was looking this up because of things that I found out going into this. Jaron has been playing with Lynch Mob for a while now. Ron is the one that kind of told me about that situation because that's where I met Ron. I met Ron and Jaron on the same night. So that's my brother Ron. Tooth and Nail is a religious experience. Amen to that. Amen to that. And a kind of fun thought too about that. That was a Michael Wagner produced album. And it was, I have a friend of mine here in town that actually got to go down and do some interning with him. So that's kind of cool. But the first album, of course, there you go. So with Juan Crocier on the back. So in fact, that reminds me of something else too. But anyway, so there was one big surprise for me today when I was looking into the Lynch Mob thing. And another thing is a few years ago, and I'd heard part of this, and then I may have stopped listening to it because I just didn't know how to take it. I didn't know if I liked it or not. But I understand it and I get it. And it was a better listen today. A few years ago, they took the first Lynch Mob album, which was Wicked Sensation, and they re-recorded it and reimagined it. So some of the songs are a lot slower. They're not as high when they're singing. It's not so, taxing. And I get that because there's a lot of songs on that record that I would love to do in my band because it would fit it. That was such a cool, sexy, bluesy album, Wicked Sensation. And if you haven't ever heard it, choose which way you want to do it. I'm not here to tell you which way to go. Personally, it's kind of like the graphic novel versus the movie sometimes, or the book, the novel versus the movie. Sometimes if a movie is out, let's say Ready Player One, I always use that one. So a novel, let's do Ready Player One, or Hunger Games. You can do either one. And then also on a graphic novel, let's just say, I won't say Scott Pilgrim because that's so different. Kick-Ass. Let's do Kick-Ass. So when you do that, you're talking to a friend and you're like, the movie's out. It's not like they're gonna make a movie. The movie's out. And you're like, which way do you listen to it? So in this case, the reimagined first, or do you listen to the original first? So that's a decision that you have to make. Somebody may say, listen to this one first. You got to hear this first. Maybe not. Oh, there you go. Perfect examples. Thank you, Drew. Perfect examples. The Watchmen or V for Vendetta. Perfect examples. So you're like, if I told a friend of mine, this is what I mentioned to him, the logic in those situations. I said, look, if you haven't seen Kick-Ass the movie, or if you haven't read the book for Ready Player One, just watch the movies and let them exist as movies. Because it seems like because the book takes longer to digest and it takes longer to read and there's more of an investment. So I say, just watch them. In that case, I say, watch the movie first because let it exist. Because I'm sure Ready Player One is a better movie than I think it is because I read the book right before I watched the movie. So when I saw that movie, I'm like, I don't even know where the hell I am. Hunger Games, same kind of thing. I'm like, whoop, wait, I just read this. And then we went to, my friend and I took a couple of our kids and we went to see the movie at like a midnight showing. And I was like, wait, what? I'm like, where am wait, that's not how that happens. And then the next thing I know, but when I was reading Hunger Games, I was concerned because I was like, how are they going to do all of this and keep it interesting? You know, how are they going to be all this time out in the woods and keep it interesting? Just the way it is. So make your own choice. If you've heard the album, look forward to listening to the new one. I say, give it a chance and understand where they are and why they may be doing that. And a lot of people have done what they're doing, like when Whitesnake re-recorded "Here I Go Again" on that. They had that new version for like it could have been played on adult contemporary radio. It wasn't that it was so much weaker. It's just it wasn't as strong. It wasn't as didn't have a little bit of that rawness anymore. And it had situations where you're like, oh, I see Coverdale probably doesn't want to have to worry about doing that part anymore. Now he does this. He does it this way. Kind of like when I cover some songs and I have to choose how I'm going to cover it because I don't do what those people do. Kick Ass was super fun and high energy. It was. It was. You know what? I just saw another movie. If you're into kind of superhero justice movies, I just watched a movie the other day. If you can, I don't know where it streams regularly, but Boy Wonder it was called, and it was well played. I haven't dissected the movie to know, well, you know, like some of these guys that I enjoy watching, like Nerdrotic or Mauler or Critical Drinker. Some of these guys, I haven't thought about it in that way, but it was a good movie and the acting was good. I thought it was good. It did get a good set of stars, but it was called Boy Wonder. And it's kind of a kick-ass kind of a situation. So with a little bit of a twist at the end. So yeah, check it out. Look it up. And it's not like there's some people in it that you've seen before in other films. And oh, there you go. It's on Tubi. There you go. Thank you. So yeah, check it out. I enjoyed it. I'm sorry if I steer you wrong if you hate it, or I don't think you will though. It had a pretty good rating, so that's one of the reasons why I watched it. Some things that I think I might like and it has a bad rating, I just don't watch it. But not to say that all the ratings are right all the time. I mean, look how irate those Star Wars movies make me and how I rate them. I rate some of them unwatchable. I haven't even watched some of it. So, that's the way it goes. I was mentioning the other day about X-Men too, which was really good. This latest animated X-Men 97 is what it's called. And really enjoyed it. So a lot of people are saying that. A lot of the people that I enjoy watching are saying that they really liked it. The one thing I did bring up the other day was that somebody had said it's just too bad that Marvel and Disney have done Disney, shall I say, with Marvel have done in the years since Endgame. It was just sad that some people won't even check out the new X-Men show, which is worth watching. And I get it because everybody tells me Andor is amazing. Everybody told me that Mandalorian was amazing. And I believed it and I watched it. And then that third season just took a shit. So don't get it. I don't understand it. And you know what? I need a drink. All right. But yeah, the physical things that the reason that I wanted to get, I mean, if you look at this again, I think I showed this the other day, but look, I mean, this is the Odyssey. Look at that detail. Look at that artwork. And here it's just, this is all the bigger it is. Hi, I look like I'm on Amazon, right? I'm that silhouette behind with the Amazon thing. When they show a book, it's this big. So anyway, you see, this is just not, you can't even see it now. I have to do that for you to see anything near any of the, what's on there. But you get that vinyl, it's the artwork. The music, I already know the music is outstanding. So I already know that if I had a large version of it, I'd be like, this is really like being a kid again, you know? So I don't know. It's just one of those things, the physical. The only other thing that I was thinking about maybe I would do while we're waiting for Jaron here, because I was originally, like I say, I was thinking about going through these CDs. Should I grab a handful of these CDs real quick while we're waiting? It's so tiny. It's a tiny record. I had a record and it shrunk, and now it's so tiny. Because that's what it's like. The CDs are like little shrunken records. See, they took my album and they shrunk it. Don't shrunk my records. I like them the way they are. So anyway. Oh, we get silly. All right. So should I grab a handful and take a look? I think we shall. Let me see here. Hold on a second. I'll reach over here. All right. I'm just going to grab a handful here. I don't know what they are. These aren't mine. Like I say, these aren't mine. And who knows from where they came. Oh, there's Frank Black. There you go. All right. Now, what's the first thing I do with every one of my CDs that I have? If I'm thinking about keeping a hold of it, what's the first thing I do? Let's see. I'm sorry. I have to read this. I definitely have to read this. Let's see the CDs. All right. That's it exactly. So the first thing, this came from the BMG CD Club. Look at that. All right. First thing I do, and my wife tells me that I do this because I just need something else to do with my CDs, which is not true. There's a reason. First thing I do, if you guys remember, maybe I wonder if I've gone over this since I've started the channel on its own. First thing I do is I take this cover out and I turn it, and you put it in like this, staples down, and then pop it in just like that. Why? Because I hate these little bumper things on the outside of there. You could really see them there. Those little bumper things. And then you're trying to get your CD out. You can't. And then it dings up the outer edge. But if you notice, if you have it like this, you just go a boop and then out. So turn them, put the staples down, and there you go. And now it looks like that. Ta-da! All right, Frank Black. Yes, from the Pixies. Oh, there you go. The Best of Berlin. Hey, we got a man here. Hang on a second. What is going on, brother? How you doing?
Yo, what's happening? Thanks for having
me. Ladies and gentlemen, Jaron Gulino. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing all right, man. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Not a problem at all, man. Not a problem. We were just going through some CDs. I was just checking out the Best of Berlin.
Very cool.
Yeah, some great production on that. I remember working on the radio when that Top Gun album came out. It was like, oh my God, hit after hit.
State of the art.
It's crazy. It was crazy. Now, are you good to go now, or you just want to?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. I mean, you're not driving or anything, so
I'm not driving. I'm being driven.
I'm being driven. There you go.
Although I would probably still do it if I was driving.
I would too. Living on the edge, man. That's what it's about.
Oh yeah.
That's what it's about. Oh man. Yeah, smart tip. I was talking about the CDs, man. When I have CDs, I always turn the booklet because I always get tired of the banging them up against the edge when you're trying to get the booklets out.
Oh yeah.
So I turn them sideways so you can just pull them up and you're ready to rock.
Oh, nice. Good call.
Yeah. So there you go. Mr. Ron Matthews is with us, brother.
Oh yeah, Ron's a good guy.
He says, "Woo, JG Mafia in the house." Oh man. So Jaron is quite the bass player. I love the way, I love watching you perform on stage. It's I'm not going to say, oh, it's kind of the way I do it. It is not, but we're both performers on stage. I know that. And it's because you feel that, and we are those mobile bass players.
Sure. Gotta be.
There's been so many things going on with you throughout your career with so many different bands and different things like that. But what I want to do first is just ask you, how excited are you about this? I guess it's the final ride for Lynch Mob. And how excited are you for this upcoming tour?
Well, it's a trick question because yes, I'm excited to be on the road with George and the guys and doing a pretty big tour. However, it's not exciting knowing that it's all over when it comes to a conclusion in March. So, it's I'm conflicted, man, because obviously I want to stay focused and I want to enjoy every little thing that we do and every last minute on the road, which I do, and I take each show one at a time and really put myself into it every night. But one thing I get asked almost every day, on and off the road, is what are you going to do after Lynch Mob's done? And that's not something I'm really ready to think about. I mean, maybe I should be. It's 9 months left, something like that. I feel like if I start focusing on that and trying to find another gig, it kind of turns into me worrying about that and not focusing on what I'm doing. So I'm essentially preparing myself to ride it all the way to the end. And if something comes up before the end, that's great. And if it doesn't, then maybe I'll take some time off and figure it out. I'm not sure, but right now I can honestly say I don't have anything in the works, and I'm just staying busy as always, making music behind the scenes, and giving all my attention pretty much to Lynch Mob until George says he's done.
Yeah. Now, a lot of times, there's two parts to this kind of a thing. It's like with Kiss. It's like, or any of these bands that are on their way. Is it their last tour? It may be the last tour, but is it the end of their performing? That's the question. If Lynch Mob had some things like on a cruise or something, you could still look forward to that too, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit. George is very much in the mindset of, if some great events or, the right offer comes in, then of course we'll explore that. But in terms of the grinding through the clubs and, even some of the bigger venues that we do, it's still a lot of work to do it. And at his age, I think he's just done doing that kind of thing, and looking forward more to spending downtime with family and doing the many things that a family man would do if he was not a touring musician. So, again, not to say that there won't be any more shows, but right now there are not. And until we come across something that, George wants to consider doing, then March on the Monsters of Rock cruise next year will be the last shows for Lynch Mob.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking about talking to my wife about that. I think I need to go.
I think you do too.
I mean, dude, I'm looking forward to seeing you here in July. We'll have to talk about that. We'll have to keep talking about that. We'll keep that on the plate and everything. But also, there's another show that I would love to catch that you guys are doing, and that's up in Illinois, Northern Illinois. You're doing a show with Vixen. And I'll have to keep in touch. You're doing some cool stuff on this tour. You guys are going to be hanging with Winger on some of this, Queensryche. And then also the thing I wanted to ask you about, of course, I'm sure everybody asked you about this, the Dokken shows. What is that?
So yes, we're doing a lot of shows with a lot of great bands. Jack Russell's Great White, it's got a couple in there.
Cool.
We're always open and willing and excited to play with peers and other bands from our genre. Doing a lot of the cruises and stuff, we've become friends with a lot of these people, so it's always a pleasure. In terms of what was the second part of the question? I'm so sorry.
And then there are some dates that are on there that are
the Dokken
stuff too. Yeah.
So the Dokken shows are just George. Essentially, George coming out and doing a 3-song or so encore with Don. There were some shows over the last few years with Lynch Mob opening for Dokken, and that's kind of run its course for now. So
Okay.
the few Dockin shows, I think there's like 4 or 5 up there on our schedule. Yeah. Those are going to be exclusively George and not Lynch Mob shows whatsoever.
Got you. I got you. Yeah, the one, I guess the first one happens in September. And I guess there's 2 of those in a row, 13th and 14th. And then, let's see, there's September 27th, 28th, and maybe one other one that I'm not seeing yet. But yeah, there's those 4 at least in September. So,
yeah, I don't know how many more he's going to do of those. And it's not my duty to say, go out and catch it because it's the last one, because I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
You know, with us retiring, and there's, you know, talk of some of our other fellow 80s style bands also retiring on the Monsters of Rock cruise that I can't really comment on.
Not a problem.
You know, you never know when these guys are just going to say enough's enough. You know, Mick Brown did it with Dockin almost overnight. Yeah. And so these guys, they're getting to a point where they just can't do it anymore or don't want to. And so I would encourage anybody to catch anything that you see on the schedule, because, again, you never know when it could be the last one.
True. I've said it before when I was doing a review and also a thing about Judas Priest recently with my life run with these guys, with Judas Priest, was seeing this show, this brand new one with Sabaton, was a fantastic show. I really loved it. Somebody even has a really nice high quality shot. The sound could be better, but the visual is very good from up front of the whole set that they do. And you know, I'm wondering if that's the last time I'm going to concern myself with seeing them.
Sure.
You know,
I also saw their stop on this tour. I saw it in Jersey, and was completely blown away. I've seen Priest many times over the years, but it had been a while. And now I know they're coming back for the second leg in the fall. So maybe I'll catch that as well. But again, you know, thank God for cell phones and all that kind of thing, because people can sit at home and enjoy the show if they can't make it. Obviously,
yes,
you know, that's not the ideal way of seeing a concert. But for those that aren't as fortunate, you know, that is a great and accessible way to see your favorite bands.
Yes, and thanks for mentioning that too, Jaron, because as I mentioned to Niels Lozauer when he asked me a couple of years ago, he's like, "Why do you want to interview me?" You know, and I said, "Well, because you're the guy that brought a lot of visuals to people who, like you say, can't make the show, didn't make the show, but truly there are some people that can't make the shows. They're fans that are in a handicapped situation who can't leave their homes, or they're in you know, whatever. And you know, to, like you just said, to be able to see it that way, yeah, it could sound better, I'm sure, on certain levels, or it could be a little bit better on certain levels, but you know, to be able to be right there and see something like that, it's really cool.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. And Ron says he'll definitely ride with me to go see the McHenry show. So
nice.
Yeah, my aunt and uncle live right up there too, so that's so I could go and visit them too while we're up there. I know that they would love Ron too. So and plus, Ron's even if Ron got lost, Ron would know how to get back. So let's talk about that one off to the side. But the other things that the other thing I really wanted to talk about before I move into some of the other things that you've done over the years, I really want to know how you felt. Again, you know, there's things that we like to, we as musicians, as we work with somebody else or have time to spend with an artist, that we're like, holy crap, I'm on stage jamming with this person in my situation. You know, I've had those moments where I'm on stage or in a rehearsal area, hanging out with Keel, singing a song in their rehearsal studio. You know, you have these moments, but how did that feel getting, let's not go so far back as to when you started with Lynch Mob, but going in and doing an album with Lynch Mob?
A lot of pressure, man. Honored to be asked to be a part of it and to be able to take part in performing on the record. But a lot of pressure for a lot of obvious reasons, you know, getting to play with George and the guys, and putting my own stamp on a style of music that I've worshipped for my entire life since I was a young kid. So, I know based on the however many years of seeing Lynch Mob and listening, what the sound should kind of sound like, what each guy brings. Each bass player on each record brought a little bit of something different and special. So I kind of knew my limits in terms of maybe where I could go safely. But also, want to make sure that I'm putting my own flair on it and not just doing a carbon copy of everybody else.
Right.
So in that, it was fun and rewarding to be able to do it. However, I only had 10 days to get the songs, learn them, record them, and submit them. So I wish that maybe I had some more time. But given, the allotted amount of time and the material, I'm happy with the way that it came out. And, it leaves me kind of wanting another chance to do another record that maybe I could put a little more time and effort into it. But given the time that I was handed and the material I was handed, I gave everything I had into making those tracks the best I could. So, I am very proud and happy. But, of course, it was an interesting and challenging situation that I was completely up for.
Now, it looks like, and I'm going to read these quickly. It looks like there's like 10 tracks. This album came out in 23, called Babylon. Erase, Time After Time, Caught Up, I'm Ready, How You Fall, Million Miles Away, Let It Go, Firemaster, The Sinner, and Babylon. Tell me a little bit about some of your favorite tracks that you have on there.
My favorite, I think, is Caught Up. It kind of has a drive, and I thought the bass came out nice on that in terms of performance and the way that it sounded. I think tracks like Erase and How You Fall are signature George Lynch style songs, and I think with Gabriel singing them and the new lineup putting their flair on them, I think they really came alive. The one song that I think was a fresh and new approach was A Million Miles Away, because pretty much it's the same riff over and over for the entire song. It kind of just builds and then comes down and builds again. And so that's kind of a fresh approach for George, I think. And it was coming out larger than what it seemed at first. And I would say that's the wild card for me. But two tracks that kind of got away from me a little bit were Babylon and Firemaster, because they were actually much longer versions. And though they are already long on the album, I mean, I think Firemaster cut out a whole second half of that outro section where George was just really ripping up. And I think fading that out, I get why, but I think we missed out on a lot of cool playing that was to come after that. And same with Babylon. I mean, that song's really long as it is, but it went on for about another minute or two. For the average listener, it probably doesn't matter. But for, a guy like me, a musician, I know there was a lot of playing in there that I would have liked for people to hear.
Yeah. And on the record, it's 8:04, it says. So that's,
Yeah.
That, that must have just been, I mean, you've recorded albums before, you've done this, in the past already, but, not to say anything about any of the past musicians, but for us, for those folks, who are the listeners and we know who George Lynch is.
Yeah.
And you're like, crap, that must have just been amazing. Just watching that and just going, man.
Yeah, I think the big part of it is, which is kind of funny to me, is, George is like, oh, let's fade this out early. Nobody wants to hear just a bunch of guitar solos. I'm like, do you understand? Like, that's what people are buying this for, that's what people are looking for. So, as funny as it is, I was kind of like pushing for the extended outros, but whatever. I'm happy.
Right.
It's out, it's done, on to the next.
Yeah. Yeah. Because who produced this record?
George, and we had a guy, Chris Flores, that was engineering, and he had some hand in some of the tracks and helping out. And We had another guy, Giancarlo, that had a little bit of a hand in some of the material and the writing of the lyrics and melodies as well.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's a George Lynch production, and he is the be all end all in terms of what goes down and what happens and how it comes out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I know he does a lot of work with Jeff as well on the side with the End Machine and with the Pilsen and Lynch stuff, and with all that. So there's a lot of other things he worked on. I figured that was probably the situation. Now, the other thing that I've got to throw down about this record and about this tour that I was not aware, and I'm dying to see you guys for two reasons: you and Jimmy DeAnda.
Yeah, man, what a beast.
I'm like, what? Wait a minute. I saw something on Facebook about Flipped Out. He's on drums. Jimmy DeAnda, folks, if you were a Bullet Boys fan, that was the thunder behind the Bullet Boys. So
Yeah.
How is it working with Jimmy?
Jimmy's great, man. He's a total sweetheart and a legend behind the kit. He's been with George 23 years on and off now. I've seen many lineups of the band, and Jimmy is his own thing, man. And that's, I think, what makes this version of the band, but really any version of Lynch Mob, special, because every guy kind of brings their own thing. And as much as it does come together as a band effort on stage and we perform as a unit and crank out the songs, each guy is completely their own energy and own show.
Yeah.
I can't honestly say I've ever played with anybody like each of the guys. Gabriel is hitting high notes that just make your skin, just the hair stand up on the back of your neck, and you're just proud to be up there, and then George is just going off, and you doing a solo section, he just doesn't want to stop, so it just goes on, and that's a magical moment. And then you turn in Jimmy. I mean, and the thing I say about Jimmy to most people is, in some bands you can just stand up at the microphone, sing, play the parts, where the stops, the cues are. With Jimmy, it's all energy and based on that day. If he's feeling a certain way one day, you're going to get that kind of a performance out of him based on his emotions, how he's feeling. And it's very much a you play to him. And he is just, a ball of energy and a force to be reckoned with back there, and locking in with him and coming up with little creative things and improvising things every night. That's what I play music for. That's the reason that I cherish my role and position in this band so much, is because playing in so many bands over the years, it gets to be muscle memory. You're going through the motions, you're playing the same set list every night. You don't really have to look at the set list or look for cues, you just do it. We change the set list every night with Lynch Mob. We change the way we play the songs every night. We sometimes change the words. It really is a matter of how we're feeling going on that stage that day. And I think that's what music's about, and used to be about many years ago. And
thank you.
Kind of been forgotten over time with technology and all that. And not to knock any of that stuff, I'm really not. But for me, I'm an old soul in a young body, and a young man in an old man's game in terms of the genre of music that I'm playing and with older guys. So I connect deeply with those types of things versus, I don't care about playing stadiums or arenas to a backing track and having tons of lights and videos. I just want to plug in the amp and have it sound good and rip up with the guys.
Yes. Now I have two things otherwise to say about the whole Bullet Boys thing. Now, were you into the Bullet Boys when you were younger, or
Sure.
When did you kind of get into that? What age were you when you got into that?
I'd say mid-teens is when I really did the deep dive. I think I got into Dokken when I was like 11 or 12. My 8th grade history teacher turned me on to Dokken. I was a big death metal and thrash guy, and Dokken was kind of the first hair band, if you will.
I was going to say, that's quite different.
To be the gateway, and it's just based on looks. I mean, if you listen to Dokken, it's metal all the way, so.
Right. Especially Tooth and Nail.
Yeah, so that was the gateway to the rest of it. And I think from 8th grade to, 10th grade, 11th grade, I mean, I was going to see every band I could. Back then it wasn't Bullet Boys, the original guys. It was Mark with his lineups of guys. And that's all fine. But I had the records. I knew the guys. I knew who was on each one, who played what. Very much a studier of all these things. So I had been very aware of Jimmy for a long time, and getting to see him with George was a treat. And growing up, idolizing, these shows and these concerts, and then being able to be a part of those scenarios is just really a full circle and a joyous occasion.
Absolutely. What do you think of like some of our fellow bass players like Lonnie Vincent, who played along with Jimmy? And has there ever been a time when you've been talking with Jimmy that he's like, oh yeah, I remember working with Lonnie or this or that, where you talk about the bassists at all?
Yeah, of course, man. We talk about, everyone under the sun. A big thing for me is I almost don't like listening when George and them are telling stories, because they can quickly put a damper on some of your idols or people you thought were great. And, and you hear behind the scenes stories. You're like, I didn't want to know that. Or
Yeah, la la la.
But, it is cool to hear it, especially from the guys that were there in the thick of it, So, yes, I get all the stories about all the guys, and some are legendary stories and told with admiration. Some are jokes and funny stories. You get a little bit of everything, but it's all out of respect. These guys paved the way for music today, and without them, it wouldn't be the same. So nothing but respect from me and all the guys in the band. That's for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I had a chance to interview those. I interviewed Jimmy and Lonnie years ago when they were on tour with Cinderella and Winger, and went through Peoria, and the person set me up with them. That's a whole other story, but it was great to sit there and talk with Jimmy and Lonnie. Had such a good time talking to those two guys. And then when they came here to St. Louis, then I caught up with them before the show. They were both sick as dogs, and they bottles of NyQuil just in the room. They're like, God, that's terrible stuff. I said, I get it. It tastes so terrible you want to be well because you don't want to have to take it anymore. I get it.
Whatever
But
gets
man,
the
they
job
made
done.
it. They did the show, man. They kicked it, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
So now, what are some of your classic Lynch Mob favorites that you get to play on stage that you like? Do you guys do a lot of stuff from the first album?
Yeah, it's basically we do almost every song off the first record.
Okay.
Depending on what night, we pick it every night. But
Yeah.
we do a lot of Wicked. We try to touch on every album. I
Yeah.
think we do something almost from every record, with the exception of Smoke This, obviously.
Yes.
And there's one, the EP from 01, Syzygy or whatever it's called. We've talked about doing a track from that, but George is funny because some nights he goes, we should do, let's do a lot of Dokken in the set tonight, and then we'll do that. And then the next night I'll say, why are we playing so much Dokken? We're Lynch Mob. And then we'll do a lot of Lynch Mob, and he'll say, people don't really know any of these newer songs, so we shouldn't be playing these. And then we do only Wicked, and then he's like, well, we're not doing anything from the other albums. It's like, it's a good problem to have. It's a great pool of music to pull from.
Yes.
But yes, we're mainly focusing on Wicked because that's what people know, that's what they love. But we are pulling stuff out, that we want to play and that we want to hear, or again, depending on the night and how we're feeling. Do we want to do a 20? If so, then we'll put in Let the Music Be Your Master from Smoke and Mirrors. Or do we want to do a heavy set? Then we'll do Unchain the Night and Lightning Strikes Again and Street Fighting Man and you name it. So it's really, again, all based on the vibe of the day. And we have like 50 something songs that we pull from. So it's kind of hard to make a set list. I won't lie, but it is fun. It's a good challenge.
I would imagine. And that one of the other great pieces that George did was that first solo record he did was really, really cool.
We were doing Flesh and Blood from that for a while. And
very nice.
We've recently, well, not recently, but in the last few months, we started doing Paris is Burning, which people know from Dokken, but that's actually an Exciter song from way back when. So we're trying to do, a little bit of everything from George's career. And, that spans 40 plus years. So how do you pick, from all that time? It's easy, but it is a pleasure to, that whole catalog.
Yeah. Now, you mentioning about, I'm going to hold on a second to make sure that you're all good there. Hopefully we didn't lose you. Just locked up a little bit. We'll see how it goes. There looks like it's moving. You can hear me okay? I'll take that as a yes. I'll just throw this down. When it came to Dokken, when you got into Dokken, what are just historically, what are some of your top 3 favorite Dokken records? Do you go all the way through everything, or does it stop at some point? That's one of those bands that had a life after this point.
It's tough, man. I don't play favorite records or songs or bands. Back from the Attack, I would say, is my favorite. Based on that's the one I was introduced to Dokken with. It's got some of the heaviest and my favorite tones, and just it's guitar heaven.
I think that was a great culmination. Yeah, that was a great culmination album.
Yeah, I would say Under Lock and Key and Back from the Attack were initially my favorites, and maybe the live one, Return to the East or whatever. But pretty much, I mean, I hate to say it, but one of my other favorites is Erase the Slate. Red
That's
Beats.
Me.
And that's a killer record too, and that's nothing taken away from George. I just think they
not at all
that heavy sound, and I find myself I listen to that quite often. But I start going down. Well, maybe this album doesn't have all of my favorite songs on it. Maybe this one has some. So I start getting into the deep cuts. Kiss of Death has always been a favorite. The fast and heavy stuff. But then I go. I think one of my all-time favorite Dokken tracks is Stop Fighting Love, and a lot of people don't know that song, but maybe it's just something that resonated with me at a specific time. Maybe I don't know why, but I'm always leaning more towards the deep cuts and the stuff that most people don't pay attention to, that aren't it's hard to pick for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. One of my favorite tracks from Back for the Attack is Burning Like a Flame. I love that.
Sure. Yeah.
I like pop music. If it's really good pop music, I dig it. And that was just a great hard-edged pop tune. I just thought it was, I still love it today. I'll sing it any day, just put it on and sing along in the car. I just love it. Just love it.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of those songs,
Well, I'm sorry. What was that? I'm kind of losing you a little bit.
Sorry about a lot of melodies. It's a lot for people to latch on to actually metal, but it wasn't around in the 80s when people were on the radio. I get these on the radio and people singing along and getting into them. So, that style of music cannot be in the forefront today, but I can definitely see what it once was.
Yeah. It was kind of interesting too. Yesterday when we were at Rock and Brews, they had the poster up for the Monsters of Rock that happened in '88, and that was an amazing show with Dokken, Metallica, Scorpions, Kingdom Come, all these different bands, Van Halen headline. It just was a crazy show. My cousin though gave up tickets for that show to go to my wedding. So, wow.
Loyalty, respect.
That is some respect. Smartly though, and I wouldn't have expected him to. I'm so glad he did what he did. Kept his Bowie tickets though. I'm like, good. And get out of town and go see Bowie. Good man. Smart. It's very smart. What was your first concert that you ever saw?
Iron Maiden on the Brave New World tour with Halford and Queensryche.
Wow, good start. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean that's like 01 or 2000.
That's
probably
like
11 or 12 years old. Crazy to think about, but yeah, man. it's weird to think about because looking back, it's like, oh, those bands were almost 30 years old at that point. You know, I should have saw them in the heyday, but now, I'm like, they kind of were still there, you know.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. You know, Maiden's never been a disappointment for me. You know, Halford's always been great. You know, he has some good years and some bad years. Even his bad years, still great. Queensryche always been one of my favorites. The longer I went seeing them and the less that Jeff Tate did the old material, the more I kind of gave up on them. But then getting Todd in the band now and being able to hear them do the early material, that's kind of restored my faith in the band back when they switched over, I guess, in 2012 or whatever. So, yeah, man, it's that first kick of adrenaline was at 11 or 12 years old at the PNC Bank Art Center in New Jersey. And I'll remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, for a living.
Yeah. Now, and that's where you're from, is from New Jersey?
I am, yes.
And then, are you familiar with Symphony X out there?
Of course, man. I've seen Symphony X quite a few times. I saw him on Gigantor.
Awesome.
I've seen him at in Ballroom many a time.
Yeah. Yeah. I just saw them recently. They were just here in town with Heathen. What a great show that was. That was fantastic.
Too. It's been a while since I've seen them. I've been kind of off the radar with some of these bands for a while, but Michael Romeo put out that album with Dino last year or 2 years ago. Wow, I mean, that's an incredible record. And me and my girlfriend Cassandra listen to that regularly all the time. And it's nice to know that guys that have been doing it for a long time can still do it at you know, that capacity and at that level. So gives me hope getting older.
Yeah. Yeah, I just I was able to hang out with Mike, our bass brother Mike LaPond, while they were here, and so that was great to be able to catch up with him again, because I don't, you know, out there I don't see them very often, but we keep in touch, and he'll be on the show coming up real soon too. Oddly enough, as a bass player, I have bass players on my show, so
gotta have it.
I know. We're a cuddly bunch.
Yeah.
So now you have had this long career with some different bands. I was looking back over the history of things, like just real quick, this, which is, you're going to say, yeah, that's all it needs to be, is there's a tune that's early on. If you look at Discogs, there's, yeah, I could say it any other time. I just learned about it. So it's an album on which you wrote one song for Midnight Hellion.
Okay.
All right. Do you know that? Do you remember about that track?
Yeah, it's called Cross the Line.
Yes.
Yeah, it's weird. That band, it started as a band called Capitalist Death Machine, which was a band that existed before I ever came into the fold. It was completely kind of more modern metal. And I came in and they actually wanted me to sing, and I had never sang before. And so I was just the singer. I didn't play bass. I didn't do anything. And we did a couple shows. We played with Overkill.
Wow.
It was interesting. I'm not a singer, and especially not at that time I wasn't. But it was fun, and it was a new experience. And then that band kind of folded, and a few of the guys were like, well, let's do a different band. Let's just stick to thrash and the stuff that we loved. And that's when I kind of came in with the bass, and I wasn't really singing. And we had like a 4-piece lineup going on. And so some of those riffs might be mine, maybe one or particular, but that's really the extent of that. I didn't have much more to do with it than that.
Okay. And then you were also in On Top, which you did do lead vocals for that one.
Yeah. Kind of active trio. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, really breaking up a little bit there. I'll let me see here. Then you move on to Mach 22.
Yeah. So On Top and Mach 22 are basically two bands that coincided together. I mean, On Top technically, it's not active. We haven't played since 2018, and even then, we weren't playing a lot. I was out with other bands on tour, and just didn't have the time. But yeah, Mach 22 was the first straight up rock band I ever really played with, and the one that really got some traction and made some headway with playing bigger venues and playing with bigger bands and playing with better musicians that I'm sorry, I would not say better musicians. I would say different style musicians. I learned more of the rock and blues aspect, a little bit of the funk versus just straight metal. And so crossing over with that was a big lesson for me, branching out stylistically.
Okay. Well, and you it looks like you played with Sebastian Labar in that band.
Yeah, for many years, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Because then did that help lead into you guys playing together in Tantric then?
It led into becoming involved with Tantric because I knew him from Mach 22, and I figured, it was a great choice, someone I can, and I know could get the job done. But Mach 22 and Tantric, it never really, one did not really lead to the other. It was kind of a completely separate occasion that saw me kind of go and get into the Tantric gig. But yes, that's where Sebastian and I spent many years playing together, and how I knew he was the guy for the job.
Yeah. It was, and that's where I met you, was at a Tantric gig, and it was right after Jeff Labar had passed. And that's where I had a friend of mine who's a radio personality here in St. Louis, Katie Cruz, was talking about, oh my gosh, she goes, yeah, I'm going to see him. I'll see Sebastian at this Tantric gig. She's like, do you want to come over and hang with me? I'm like, I would love that, because I would really like to give him my condolences in person, because I'd had a chance to meet up with Jeff quite a few times over the years, in Cinderella, and then on into like Naked Beggars and things like that. So it was great to be there and meet all of you guys. Just such a killer show, a great job by John Laurie on drums, just an amazing show. Can you just fill me in just a little bit about when you got into Tantric? And Tantric is an interesting band because it's seen a lot of players.
It has. 2017, summer of 2017, July, I had went out and did a run with a band called Delacoma from Australia. Essentially, they were coming over to do a U.S. tour, and the entire band fell apart. And so the singer reached out to me and said, hey, will you play bass? I think I'm getting these other guys to fill in. I said, cool, I'll help you out. And so I went and did that, and the band ended up being myself, Delacoma Rio, the singer, and then Chris Green from Taiketo on guitar, and Troy Patrick Farrell from many bands on drums. Wow. And it was about a week's worth of shows in Wisconsin. And at the end of it, Troy said, hey, I picked up this gig with a band called Tantric. We might be looking for a lineup because the band quit. Would you be interested in maybe doing it? And I, at the time, I'm like, I don't know this band. And he put on Astounded, and he was like, can you hit this harmony? And it was like the high note. I'm like, yeah, I think so. Cool. Like it just, let me know if this is a thing. And for me, I'm like, I'm going home. I've already learned all these songs for this band that we're out with right now. I'm not mentally in a place to start hypothetically thinking about being out with another band. So I got home, and I had about 2 days notice that I was going to be going out with Tantric. And so essentially, long story short, I had to call my day job, quit, or say I was leaving temporarily for 6 weeks, and then learn 14 songs to be able to do a headline set 2 days later. So flew in to Seattle, and pretty much sound check was rehearsal, and was in the band for 6 years straight out of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Here's the band. There's where you were in the band there.
Sure.
And is John still with them?
John is, yes. John, and his brother is the new guitar player, Chris.
Okay.
And they're a great team. I've gotten to play with those guys briefly last year. I filled in with the Tantric for a couple shows while they found themselves a new permanent bass player.
Very cool.
And now they have Eric, and he's great. And I love all those guys, and Hugo especially. And I just visited with them this weekend. I was in Wisconsin at Bratfest and saw them there and got a good hang in. So
Wow.
all is good in that world, and I'm glad that they have a great, strong lineup. And we played with many different guys over the years when I was in the band, and sometimes played without Hugo when he didn't show up. And I look at it as, going to college or getting your first internship. You get your feet wet with your entry-level job, and you learn all the good, bad, and the ugly, and hopefully you graduate to something bigger or more in your wheelhouse. For me, it wasn't really about finding a bigger gig. It was just finding something maybe more in my comfort zone style-wise. I was never a 2000s rock guy. Hearing the Tantric songs on first listen to learn them, I can honestly say I maybe had heard Breakdown before. Other than that, I didn't know any of the songs. And
I was completely unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Which is, it's okay,
Yeah, I think it was good going in that way because I found love for them through playing them. And anybody that saw the band when Sebastian and I were in the band can probably tell you the same thing. It was more hard rock when we were in the band. We were kind of really cranking it up with the stacks and heavy tones and just a little more raw and raunchy. And it's great and fantastic and fun as all that was. I think Tantric is a little bit more intricate and a little bit more vibey. And so as much as I had a great time and I respect everybody involved, I think they're more true to their sound now without me in the fold. And that's always great to see too.
Right.
But it was a great experience. I learned so much. And honestly, I don't know that I would have a career in music at this level without having gone through all that and paying my dues. So I'm very grateful for those opportunities, and I cherish those memories.
That's outstanding. Outstanding. Yeah. And I think it's a good thing, knowing you guys, knowing you as I do. We haven't had a chance to hang out a lot, but you get a feeling for a person. And I think that was you were one of those good people, just like John, and probably just like Hugo, to be around Sebastian at a time like that. So it's one of those things that everything happens for a reason, as far as I'm concerned. And so if you look at all aspects of it, you're kind of like, well, I think that was a good set of people to be around when that went down for Sebastian. So
especially, one, it's good to be around friends and family. I get that. But, I had a great relationship with Jeff as well. And we spent a great amount of time with him in the last bunch of years. And, Sebastian and I, on our off time from Tantric runs, whether it was a few days or whatever, we would go through Nashville and just stay with him and hang out and cook food and just have a total blast. So to be able to relate and tell stories that we shared together and not just be an ear or a shoulder for him, I think that was very helpful. And honestly, I can't imagine being in his shoes and especially having a father as a big of a public figure as he was. It's every concert you go and play after that. It's every person wants to share their condolences and this and that. And though that is a beautiful thing and nice to see so many people love the guy, I get that could also be very tough to constantly be reminded.
Yes. I had my concerns. I told him that, I think that night. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't, I certainly don't mean to, have this, drug out. I just thought I'd let you know that I had a chance to spend time with your dad a few different times, and it was always just such a pleasure and a joy to talk with him. He just was such a, great guy, and stuff.
Loved by many, and many people have great memories thanks to him, and forever be grateful for everything that he showed us and taught us over the years.
Absolutely. I have to admit, I got just a little bit emotional last night when we were having dinner and they showed that doggone video, and I'm like, okay, because I was already in, and I was so excited that we were out and having fun, and we were reminiscing about '88 and all that stuff. And then when I saw him on this screen, I was just like, okay, all right, this is wow, okay, this is a little overwhelming, I think,
Sure.
especially it being a ballad at the time. So, Well, then I'll let you get rolling here. We're pretty much to the end of all that stuff, and then mainly just um, I think the only is there anything else that you would like to say about the tour and about people coming out and what to look forward to?
I think I would say for anybody watching and wants to come see Lynch Mob, come with an open mind and don't come. I got to hear this song and I got to hear that song. We change it every night. If you look at the set list on Setlist FM or whatever websites people use now, look at more than one set list because you'll realize that every single night is different. And I have people that come and, well, you guys didn't play The Hunter tonight. I'm like, cool. Well, we played it like 50 other times, in the last shows. And so tonight we played a different Dokken song. So the other thing I will say is if you got a request and you're coming to the show, give me a shout before. I mean, most times if I see somebody before the show and they say, oh, you guys doing this song or not? If we're not planning on doing it, that doesn't mean that we can't. And that doesn't mean that we don't want to. So I'm not saying we're taking requests, but it doesn't hurt to ask because, sometimes we don't mind doing that. And sometimes George just goes off the set list as it is anyway. So
well, there you go.
It's really just up in the air. And we look forward to playing for everybody and having a great time. And we hope that people come to the show and then leave the show feeling excited and feeling satisfied and happy that, they get to witness a legend such as George at his age, just still on fire and loving his passion for playing.
Absolutely. And Jimmy DeAnda, as far as the legendary hair metal days, man, seeing Jimmy DeAnda from Bullet Boys. I mean,
he's not slowing down. I got no farewells to say about Jimmy D. He's going to be there for a long time, man. He's an animal.
Well, then I guess it's time for you and Jimmy to start talking about a band. So
yeah, we'll see what comes.
We
talk. I don't know. We'll see.
I do. Here's the Babylon album. I wanted to show everybody that. Also, I have to ask you about this. When you guys play stuff off of Wicked, is it strictly from the original version, or do you do some of the reimagined stuff?
We don't do any of the reimagined.
Okay.
And I don't imagine that even if Oni ever came back for any shows or did anything with George, I don't think that they'd be doing the reimagined versions. Okay. I mean, maybe when that album came out, if they were doing a tour to promote it, maybe they would have. But I think, it's kind of like that Revolution Live. Yes, they did those songs in those down-tuned versions on that tour, but never again really have we done anything in that way. So I would say that's probably just a one-off thing. But cool. George surprises me every day. Never say never.
Right. I mean, I was surprised when I first started listening to that album. I remember hearing it the first time going, whoop, wait a minute. Hold it. But I listened to it today and I was like, okay, I'm all right with this. I'm okay with this. I'd say I still have a preference to the original, but I mean, that's just a stupid thing to say because
been burned in your head for 30 something years.
Thank you. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, listen with fresh ears. And maybe it's not for everybody and that's fine, but I'd rather have more to pick from than not enough, so
exactly.
People bash George and say he does too many things. Well, just find the ones you like and listen to those. I'd rather have more options,
Yeah. And for anybody that hasn't checked out The End Machine, get out there and check that out. I mean, there are so many offshoot bands that are great. Have you heard Elegant Weapons?
Richie Faulkner. Ronnie Romero has been one of my favorite vocalists for a while, as far as the new guys out there. And I mean, Richie is, I would say, one of the last of the guitar gods, and the new wave of guys playing old school. I mean, there's just not enough of that out there, at least in the limelight. And I'm glad that he's got the platform of Priest to get his name out there and to promote something new like Elegant Weapons so that people can catch on and get on that next wave of classic metal.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been talking about that Elegant Weapons album for a while now, and it's just solid. It's a great album. Just like the latest Black Swan. I mean, you got Robin McCauley on vocals. Come on.
He still sings great.
He does. He kills me with that. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, he'll be with Schenker on the cruise next year. And real quick, one of my greatest moments in life was last year on the cruise with George. I said, hey man, is there anybody that you want to go watch? Because he's not in tune with music, what's going on, and he said, well, who's playing? And I'm like, okay, well, here's the list of the bands that we're here with, and he said, oh, Shanker, I want to see Shanker. So to be able to sit down and watch Shanker with George and to watching him in amazement, that was like one of the greatest moments in life, because that's how I watch him. I've gone to see Shanker a million times with my dad, and we just talk about the greatness, and to see another great, respect another great, and to appreciate it and enjoy it. That was one of the greatest moments for me in music. So Robin McCauley next year with Shanker, I'll be there right up front watching every moment.
Dude, I'll be right there with you if I make that cruise.
All right.
I guess I got stuff to talk about. So, so we'll work that out. And it's kind of like years ago when I saw George open up for Yngwie, and who was the drummer? Jeff Martin. I flipped out.
Yeah. I saw
I had a guy behind me with a Racer X t-shirt on. I'm like, Racer, wait a minute. That's Jeff. Because I'd never seen him. I'd never seen him live. So I'd seen pictures, and by the time you see him live,
drummer.
He's a fantastic drummer. Speaking of Badlands at that time.
Voodoo Highway.
Oh man. Great stuff. Well, thank you for your time, brother. I cannot wait to see you. The tour kicks off. Let me see if I can get it here. June 6th, I think, isn't it?
We're in the middle of it. It's been going on since the beginning of the year, but that's the next
wave. Yeah. Next wave, June 6th up in Michigan. You got Indianapolis, then you're in Tennessee for 3 dates. Arkansas, Texas.
Only the Tennessee dates.
Oh yeah, right. So I put a link down below, folks, for the tour. So make sure you check and make sure you know what's happening at each one of those shows. And so you'll get to those dates and figure it out.
The shows with the stars next to it, those George solo shows, whether they're with Dokken or with Terry from XYZ, essentially September, and a few of those in June in Tennessee. But, George and I doing a lot of stuff. It's hard to keep up, I know, but we try to do our best with letting the fans know what's going on.
That sounds awesome. That's awesome. Well, again, thank you for your time. And then if you have just a second, hang tight. I got this this track that I play at the end. Put the graphic up. Everybody, thank you for everybody who chatted in today. Really, really appreciate it. Keep your eyes open for later tonight. I think I'll be going back on and we'll do this CD thing. So take it easy. Thank you, Jaron, very much. We look forward to seeing you and all the guys and my buddy Jimmy DeAnda out on tour. So
hell yeah.
All right, man. Well, take it easy, folks. We will talk to you later. And as always, remember, today you're in everybody else's world. They're not in yours. So act accordingly. Take it easy, folks.